Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin King Sphincter. This is one of the newer releases where they kind of showed off, hey look, we're making these big, newly sculpted bad guys to go up against the Rangers, some of the monsters, and it's going to be awesome for everybody. And the line's not dead, we promise. It's not just a bunch of repainted, terribly put together Power Rangers. We have new stuff coming in the same vein of Goldar and Zed and Rita. And then they made this, which is like not any of that because it's a giant steaming pile of newly sculpted garbage. It's embarrassing that they put this out. Like, embarrassing for them. I can't believe they actually released something like this. It looks unfinished. It looks like a test shot or a prototype. It's pretty pathetic. And on top of that, there's quality control issues. It's kind of a piece of garbage. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands to the top of his head about 7 3/4 inches, which makes him pretty close to, let's just say 19.5 centimeters. And technically the sculpt is okay aside from the head. He's got a very narrow chest though, but that's okay. It's a decent enough sculpt. The paints really don't do it any favors though. The way they just threw a little bit of like turquoise shading on there and a little bit of gray shading on there, but it's kind of all over the place and not uniform at all, really detracts from it. It also looks like a bunch of plastic. The color of the plastic, the type of plastic, and the lack of paint on it really makes this thing look cheap as heck. The wings have all of this kind of marbly look to them, which I believe is just from a wash that the whole figure should have, and it doesn't. On top of that, the face is missing all of the paint, almost all of the paint. They didn't paint the nose, they didn't paint the mouth, they didn't put the black around the eyes. It's missing all the paint that matters. What the hell? How do you do that? They showed it like that in the promo images, and then they still didn't put it on before they released it. And on top of that, the sculpt of the face is wrong. It almost looks human with like a dog's snout. He was very much dog-shaped. Like the snout, even in the crappy cel-shaded artwork, you can see that's what he's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be more snout-shaped. This doesn't have that. Granted, if it was painted, it would look better, but it still doesn't have the right look. His mouth is very wide, and his snout is very short. It doesn't look anything like it's supposed to. This figure is terrible. It's pathetically bad. Don't buy it just on that alone. But from the aesthetic standpoint, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. It looks like crap. Alright, as far as accessories go, we do get his staff and an energy effect part, which is pretty cool because it has the question marks on it. Then we have some alternate hands. We have the loose hands that come on him in the package. Then we get a fist and a gripping hand. That's it for accessories. That's probably fine. 7 out of 10. Effect part's pretty cool. Alright, on to the articulation. First of all, the wings, you have to peg them in yourself, and they used the tiniest, shittiest little pegs ever. So odds are you're going to end up breaking these at some point, and I had to heat the body up in order to peg them in. But the way they are recessed, you can't move them, and then they just end up popping out. There's nothing really good about this figure other than it's all new sculpt. Hey, that one's staying in. God, I spent like 10 minutes trying to get these to stay in earlier, and it just popped out without even trying. And you can still barely pose them. Gosh, what a piece of junk. The head, it can rotate. It's on a hinge and a ball peg, so you can move it around a little bit. But it's still so poorly painted, it looks like a garbagey kid's toy. Shoulder pads are connected to the arms, that's cool, so you get the rotation. You can barely raise them up at all. Bicep swivel is okay. Double jointed elbow is okay. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge, that's fine. Diaphragm joint on this guy, acceptable, that's fine. Ab crunch, reverse ab crunch I should say, is in there. So if you like that, fine, but it's almost useless. His hips are very floppy and loose. They go out to the side pretty far though, but they're very loose. They do go forward, they don't go back all that far. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee is okay, that's fine. And then we have ball hinge ankles that are incredibly floppy. The feet themselves are floppy, the rotation on the foot is floppy, yet the ball hinge part is fairly stiff. So he's most likely going to just fall over a bunch because this part's kind of important. This one's not anywhere near as bad. That's still pretty loose, but this one is entirely floppy. Let me know if you guys have that issue too. So ultimately the articulation is just passable at best. I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood right now. After the fact that they didn't paint the face, anything, I'm not giving this figure any breaks at all. So the articulation is passable. I'll give it a 7. But as a figure, it's a 0 out of 10. Because they didn't paint the face. They did not paint the face. You'd think they'd learn after that one Ranger where they didn't paint half of it and then they had to have people send them in or contact them and they were going to send out new heads. How do you not paint the face? It's the face. That's kind of the most important thing. It's a 0 out of 10. Don't buy this until they fix the face. If they don't, screw them. Guys, you don't need this stuff. These are garbagey chunks of plastic if they're not collectibles. And this is not a collectible. Screw them. If they're not going to do anything to make us want to buy them, they don't deserve our money. We don't need these. We don't need what they're making. They need what we're providing, which is the money. Screw them. This is unacceptable, ridiculous, pathetic, embarrassing. Screw them. I'm not buying the pumpkin one. It's got the same problem, and I bought this just to review it because I really wanted to say how much that this is not acceptable, and it's not. Stop supporting the line, guys. As soon as they made a good couple figures in the start, they had everybody right where they wanted them, and they've been sticking it to us ever since. Stop giving them money, guys. Stop giving them money and they'll make better figures. Or they won't, but you won't be wasting your money either way. So there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.